Na 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 na. Hey everyone, my name is Vin and I like to play games, and welcome back to another episode of Vin Plays Yahoo Fantasy Football. This is my Week 9 recap show where I go over how well my team did, my general thoughts on the games and players I happened to catch over the weekend, and we'll also take a peek at the waiver wire to see if there's anybody worth picking up. That being said, let's go ahead and dive into it. We started off the week really well with Aaron Rodgers and Devante Adams. If you recall from my last episode, I talked about how I was expecting their numbers to be a little bit held back, a little bit dampened, just because of how good San Francisco's defense was, or is, I should say. But never underestimate the power of a really bad offense, because just like expected, San Francisco's offense was a train wreck. Mullins threw a couple of picks, maybe even 3 picks. I don't exactly remember, but they could get nothing going, and they were leaving their defense in really bad positions on the field. And Aaron Rodgers and Devante Adams totally took advantage of this. Aaron Rodgers ended up scoring, I believe, somewhere around 30-something points, 36 points. Yeah, he scored 4 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers did great. And he actually did leave some points on the table. He threw a few passes, again, to other wide receivers other than Devante Adams, who ended up dropping passes, most notably Marquez Valdes-Scantling. There was one pass in particular where he dropped this perfect pass from Aaron Rodgers, and it was a drive-killing drop. And Aaron Rodgers was just staring a hole right into Valdes-Scantling.
Disappointed!
But you know what? Valdes-Scantling actually ended up catching a couple of touchdowns as well. Long bomb touchdowns where he was pretty wide open. But the San Francisco offense was just pretty awful. And by about the third quarter, you could see the spirit totally leaving the team. The team knew that they had no shot of winning, and they were so far behind that, yeah, it looked like they just pretty much stopped trying on both ends. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, stellar start to the week. Same thing with Devante Adams. Devante Adams racked up a ton of yards. He caught 1 touchdown, got 28 points. Let's go ahead and take a peek for the official numbers. 12 targets, 10 receptions, and 173 receiving yards. He actually left a few yards on the table too. He did have a couple of drops, those 2 drops, which isn't. I can't nitpick too much. Catching 10 out of 12 passes isn't all that bad, but as I recall, at least one of those 2 drops, those 2 targets that is, were very catchable. So and it would have been nice for him to get over the 200-yard mark. But all things considered, I can't really nitpick all that much. Devante Adams is the best wide receiver in football right now, easily the best in fantasy right now. So going down the list, Allen Robinson, he did somewhat well. He hit his floor of about 10 points here. Yeah, 11 points. He did he did get about 10 targets again, as I recall. Okay, 9 targets with 7 receptions and 81 receiving yards. I didn't get to catch this game, but from what I've read and what I've seen anyways, Minnesota got out to a pretty big lead early on, and Chicago was playing catch up. And it kind of threw the game script a little out of sorts. And I guess, it is what it is. Allen Robinson is a really good football player, really good wide receiver. It's just kind of sad that throughout his entire career, he's just always been playing with subpar quarterbacks. But yeah, as long as he's healthy, he'll be staying in our lineup as well. Let's go ahead and go on to Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs did relatively well. He hit his flourish type numbers as well. 13 points, that's not too bad. We did expect more from him considering the matchup against the Chargers, and it was a little concerning. He yielded some touches to the other running backs on this squad. So how many rush attempts did he get? I believe, yeah, so he got 14 rush attempts here, 65 yards, and a touchdown. The touchdown was pretty cool. It was about, I want to say it was about 15 or 20 yards out. So he had a little run, and then he did a jump towards the corner. It was pretty athletic, actually. It was a very impressive play. But as far as his usage, though, this is one of his lower attempts this year. Let's check to see how many passing attempts did he get. Receiving. So targets, yeah, he only got one target during this game, which was pretty disappointing. But not only that, he yielded rush attempts to Devante Booker, who actually did end up scoring a touchdown as well, and a bunch of passes to Jalen Richard. It's slightly concerning. I wouldn't say I'd be panicking right now or anything, but from what I've read about the game, or read about the situation, I actually watched the game. The game was pretty crazy. It was probably the best game of the weekend, actually, of the week. It's just the Chargers just always find a way to lose, don't they? And they lost in heartbreaking fashion again. But coming back to Jacobs, I think he's a bit banged up right now. He has some really nagging injuries, and I'm attributing that to his lack of usage here, or his reduced usage here. But then again, considering the usage, him getting 13 points, and he is the goal line back too, so he may or may not be a touchdown specific during some of these matchups, but he will get first shot at touchdowns. So I'm not too worried about Josh Jacobs. Just hopefully, knock on wood, he could stay healthy for the rest of the year. Now, Antonio Gibson, he did underperform here. He got around 10 points, I believe. Yeah, he got 10 points against, or 10 points. What am I doing? I'm reading projections now. He got 11 points here against the Giants. And I did not get a chance to watch this game, but from what I read and from monitoring the stats as they were coming in, the Giants did hop out to a surprisingly big lead during this game. I think they were up by 2 or 3 touchdowns to start. And, kudos on for the Washington football team, because they ended up making it competitive. I believe that the Giants ended up winning by only 3 points. I think it was 20-23. But we talked about game script, about Antonio Gibson again. And, the game script was not in his favor. The Giants getting out to that big lead meant that, yeah, ding, 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 that's right, J.D. McKissick was the one that was getting most of the playing catch-up. And not only that, but I later read that Antonio Gibson actually did have a big fumble too to start around the start of the game. So, the coaching staff might have also been kind of disciplining him, kind of punishing him by not giving him some touches because of that fumble. Darren Waller, what can you say about Darren Waller? He did catch a touchdown this week. As far as yards, he didn't get too many yards, 22 receiving yards and a touchdown, but the big number here is targets. He did get 10 targets, and that was leading his team by far. So Darren Waller is the leader. The first look, he is the leader of their passing game, the Raiders' passing game. So this is pretty much all you could ask for. Darren Waller, he's easily he's top three tight end, probably top 2. Travis Kelce, and then probably Darren Waller next, especially now that Kittle is out for, Kittle is going to be out for a while anyways. I'll talk about that a little bit more when I get to my waiver wire as well. But let's go ahead and go on. DeAndre Swift, we ended up starting DeAndre Swift. If you recall from my starter episode, I did have Deontay Johnson in my starting lineup at the flex to begin with. But I decided, since after Thursday night's game with Aaron Rodgers and Devante Adams, I decided that, since we were out to a big lead, that I'd go with DeAndre Swift just because of position, because he's a running back and he would get guaranteed more touches compared to Deontay Swift. And also Deontay Swift has been dealing with nagging injuries. As far as health, he's missed a few games as well. So I thought DeAndre Swift would be a safer bet, and he did pretty well actually. He did lead his backfield in touches. He got about 11.2 points, as you can see there. Let's go ahead and look at the rush attempts. So he got 13 rushes and 5 targets, which is really good for a running back. That is super good. So DeAndre Swift, plugging him in a pinch here. Yeah, we're not disappointed at all about what he provided us here. Although, you know what, he did have a good matchup as well against Minnesota. But yeah, you know, as far as flex play is concerned, though, 11 points out of your flex, you know, that's great. And he beat his projection as well. So who didn't beat their projections, though, is our kicker, Rodrigo Blankenship. Let's go and look at his game as well. He was playing against Baltimore, so, you know, limited points there with Baltimore's defense being able to limit the Colts. Baltimore's defense is really, really good. So, but yeah, you know what, I'm starting to kick myself a little bit. If you recall from previous episodes, I'm not sure if it was our last starter episode or the week before, I ended up dropping Harrison Butker, the Chiefs kicker, for Rodrigo Blankenship, just because Blankenship was done with his bye. He was done with his bye and he performed really well early on. But it's seeming now, after these last couple of weeks, that his explosion in the beginning might have been because of matchups. So I'm not sure moving forward. You know, if he keeps giving us these subpar performances, at least not making his projections, then we might move on from Blankenship. We might drop Mr. Goggles over here and pick up somebody off of the waiver wire. I know that Mason Crosby is still available, so we might pivot back to Mason Crosby if he continues to underperform. Speaking of underperformances, though, we did pick up Washington's defense. Yeah, you know, they had a smash spot against Danny Dimes and the Giants. Danny Interception, as we like to call him, Danny Thumbs, if you watch the fantasy footballers, Danny Thumbs. He did not throw any interceptions during this game, which was surprising. But, you know, also note that I forgot to cover, Washington did also lose their starting quarterback, Kyle Allen, to, from what I'm hearing, a really gruesome ankle injury as well. He ended up getting a fracture and a dislocation in his ankle. So moving forward, he is likely to miss the season. And so the starting quarterback for Washington will be Alex Smith. And it's like, man, another devastating ankle injury to a quarterback for this team. I'm really starting to think that this Washington team is maybe cursed. Somebody should probably light some candles, you know, light some incense or something, or call a priest for an exorcist. I don't know. But yeah, another devastating injury to a quarterback here. Alex Smith will be the starter moving forward. So I'm not sure that really dampens their offense all that much. But as far as their defense, though, their defense underperformed here. I may or may not hang on to them. Part of my the appeal of me taking this defense or picking them up is because of their schedule. Because next they have Detroit without Kenny Golladay because Kenny Golladay is injured, and then Cincinnati, whose offensive line is pretty awful, so they could rack up a bunch of sacks and, you know, pressure Joe Burrow, so he might throw some picks. And then against Dallas, so, you know, everybody knows how much of a mess Dallas's offense has been. Although they did show signs of life this week with their quarterback, I forget his name now, but their quarterback that was in place of Andy Dalton. Although, you know what, I'm thinking moving forward that Dalton is probably going to be coming back this week. Well, my guess would be this week. I haven't really read anything to that effect, but this week or at the very least next week. So by the time Washington plays them, it will probably be Andy Dalton. Going over to my opponent's side, let's go ahead and take a peek. Justin Herbert, he did do well. That was a heartbreaking loss, but it's really surprising how effective Justin Herbert is as a rookie. He is just really good. Really surprising was DeAndre Hopkins, though. He played the I almost said Miami Heat, the Miami Dolphins, and he was actually shadow covered by Xavier Howard. And this was kind of an odd game as well. Xavier Howard was covering him, and it was tough coverage. But Xavier Howard also drew, DeAndre Hopkins, I should say, drew 4 pass interferences from Xavier Howard, so he didn't get any credit for those targets or those yards. So that, I think that really contributed to him having a bad week. And lucky for us that he did, because you know what, DeAndre Hopkins, him having an off week against us, that's great. Terry McLaurin, what can you say about Terry McLaurin? He is an awesome player. He is quarterback proof. He will put up points regardless of who throws the ball, that is. As long as it is within arm's reach, McLaurin will catch it. Chase Edmonds kind of underperformed as well. From what I'm reading about this, though, he underperformed, but he looked a lot like Kenyon Drake. So early on, I was thinking that Chase Edmonds was a better player than Kenyon Drake. But after this game and after everything I'm reading and researching about this game, I'm starting to think that now it's probably scheme-wise, it's probably the team. The plays that they play, their first and second down plays that they run are not good for running backs. That would explain why Kenyon Drake hasn't performed up to expectations this year, and it would definitely explain why Chase Edmonds underperformed during this week, especially against Miami, because Miami was supposed to have a really soft running back defense there. Aaron Jones, that's his floor. Aaron Rodgers was passing was spreading the ball around. He was passing to a lot of different people, different receivers, passing the ball to Devante Adams. And San Francisco's defense is strongest up front, so they are strongest against the run. It kind of explains why Aaron Jones's numbers are depressed here. But a 10-point floor, I'd love to have Aaron Jones on my team. And that is a definite RB1 when your floor is 10 points. Jordan Reed caught one pass and then he left the game, as far as I could tell, which was kind of strange. I really don't think he's 100% healthy, and that would probably explain it. So, good for us, lucky for us, because 1 point, I'll take that. I'll take that against my opponent. My opponent gave me 1 point. He basically donuted. But moving forward, Keenan Allen is just really, 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 really good at football. There's nothing more to say about that. Justin Herbert is peppering him with targets. I think he's been averaging around 12 targets every game. Let's go ahead and take a peek. So this game, let's see. Did not get any rush attempts, but 11, 12, 13. He's just racking up the targets, and he is just good enough to take advantage of all those targets. And not only that, but Justin Herbert is passing the ball really well. So Keenan Allen, probably a top 5 wide receiver moving forward here. And then looking at his kicker, Younghoe Koo, he does what Younghoe Koo does. I'd really love to have him on my squad. I'd easily drop Blankenship for Younghoe, not only because of how effective he is, but because I have a soft spot for him. He did before he became a professional, or before he came to the NFL, that is. He had a viral video of him doing a backflip and hitting a field goal. It is super cool. And then Tampa Bay, oh man, I thought this game would be so good, so competitive against New Orleans. Tampa Bay versus New Orleans, but their offense just totally imploded, and New Orleans had their way with them. Tom Brady threw, I think, 3 picks. Nobody could get anything going. Chris Godwin, I think, did the best. I think he only had like 50 or 60 yards though, and he was catching with a broken finger as well. Antonio Brown actually looked pretty good during this game for his limited usage. He had a couple of catches where it really looked like vintage Antonio Brown from his time at the Steelers. But that pretty much goes over our matchup here. Let's go ahead and take a look at our standings right now. not much has changed for our standings. I'm actually thinking nothing has changed with our standings looking at it right now, at least as far as the playoffs are concerned. I know looking at our matchups, the top three, the drafted, Vaughn like Donkey Kong, and myself, we all won our matchups this week, so we didn't change. And I believe that the next three teams, 4 through 6, lost this week as well, so they didn't move at all. There might be a little bit of shifting on the bottom, the very bottom tier. I think Christian Mingle moved up 1 spot, but other than that, everything is pretty much the status quo here. Looking forward to the waiver wire, I did put in some initial claims here. Evan Ingram, somebody dropped Evan Ingram last week, and Evan Ingram did have a great game this week. He did explode a bit. He caught a touchdown. He did get a lot of targets and a few receptions. So I'm thinking maybe I'll pick up Evan Ingram here just to have that depth and have a quality piece on my team. Although, you know what, there are a couple of questions. Well, I'll get into it a little bit later. But yeah, I also have a claim in here for George Kittle. I saw last week, I saw Dr. David Chow, the Pro Football Doc. If you haven't caught, or if you don't follow him on Twitter and haven't made an account on his website, I really recommend that you do so, because he is really accurate when it comes to predicting injuries and injuries of players and how long they're going to be out. But anyways, I heard an interview with him, and he was saying that he is expecting Kittle to be out for around 6 weeks, is what he's predicting, like 6 weeks. But he said it's not, he gave the impression anyways, that it's not outside the realm of possibility that he could be back as soon as 4 weeks. So yeah, if he's coming back that soon, especially if he's going to be back within 4 weeks, it's like we could grab him, and that would be great. More so because, on top of that, because right now, and this is really big news here, is because Nick Chubb is expected to practice this week, and so I'm thinking that he's probably going to play this week. And if he plays, yeah, we are definitely starting Nick Chubb here. Yeah, and well, I'll get into that during my starter show. But if we're going to play Nick Chubb, if he's going to be playing this week, we'll have to activate him. So once we activate him, we will have another IR spot. So with our IR spot, we can insert George Kittle, and we could, you know, without having a big detriment to our bench, we could see what plays out with George Kittle, whether or not he comes back sooner rather than later. And then next, I do have a waiver claim for New Orleans, Washington for New Orleans for Washington, just because of how bad Washington underperformed. But New Orleans is also going to be playing against San Francisco, and considering how well New Orleans defense played against the Bucs and how awful San Francisco's offense has looked, yeah, I would swap out I would drop the Washington football team for New Orleans defense. It seems a little bit like a no-brainer here. But you know what, I'm perfectly fine running with the Washington football team as well. I believe they are playing the Detroit Lions this week, and you know, without Kenny Golladay, that could be a good match, a good smash spot as well. So those are my thoughts about Week 9. Once again, my name is Vin, and I like to play games, and I'll see you next time.